Maurizio Sarri has finally been appointed as the head coach of Chelsea Football Club. Hello there guys, and welcome back to 100% Chelsea 4. Well, is it breaking news? Is it news? Anyway, Maurizio Sarri has been announced and appointed as the new Chelsea, head coach. It's not manager because we're Chelsea. And I'm extremely excited. I am excited. I know a lot of you aren't. I will talk about him. I will talk about, those people that aren't excited about it. I will get into detail today. But firstly, I just want to say I'm very happy. So, if you're also happy, leave a like down below. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say or do, but just leave a like because it'd be great, basically. But yeah, after 2 or 3 months of conversations and negotiations, Chelsea finally got their man. Maurizio Sarri is joining Chelsea Football Club from Napoli for a fee of around £4.4 million or €5 million. And isn't someone who we've only been looking at for a few days or weeks. This has been in the making for a very, very long time. Now, of course, I know that there's plenty of people out there that didn't want Conte to go. Although to those people, I suggest reading Matt Law's article for The Telegraph about Conte's downfall at Chelsea from a few days ago. Of course, take every article with a pinch of salt, and it's mostly only one side of the story. But I'm almost certain that most of you would have known, wouldn't have known about half of these, things mentioned by Matt Law in that article. So just read it, especially if you want the Conte to stay, just give yourself some inside information on what exactly happened with Conte at the club. But, I'm not one of those people that wanted Conte to stay and didn't want Sarri to join. I wanted Sarri, and I'm very, very happy that we got him. But I can obviously understand why some people might not be also keen because Maurizio Sarri hasn't won a major trophy in his career. There's no denying that, whether you wanted Sarri to come or not. There's no point lying about that. He hasn't won a major trophy in his career. And of course, at Chelsea, we're used to managers that win things and used to managers that have won things before they even join us, basically. Although there are also examples of, when at Chelsea, that didn't always mean it would go well or it wouldn't go well. Andre Villas-Boas did extremely well at Porto before he joined us. But then we all know how that went at Chelsea. And his successor, Roberto Di Matteo, was nothing but an assistant coach, basically, and hadn't had any success in his managerial career and still ended up winning the FA Cup and, the biggest of them all, the Champions League. So it isn't always something that tells you everything. But I can still understand why it might put some people off, of course. Each to their own, I suppose. But let's speak about Sarri. Maybe you don't know, that much about him. Maybe you barely know anything about him. Let's speak about him and let me introduce you to Maurizio Sarri. So, Sarri is obviously Italian. He's 59 years old and started his professional managerial career at Pescara back in 2005 after working as a banker and amateur sides coach in the 90s until 2012 when he joined Empoli back then in the Serie B, so in the second tier of Italian football. He moved clubs quite often. So from 2005 to 2012, he moved clubs quite often, between bigger and smaller clubs, But at Empoli, that was really his break. But Empoli aren't a big club at all, They're a small club from Tuscany, and yet he got them promoted into the Serie A in his second season in charge, using a mix of experienced and young players. He then also exceeded expectations the following season by keeping Empoli in Italy's top flight by finishing 15th. And that is when he moved to Napoli in 2015, where in his 3 years there, he finished second, third and second again. This last season now finishing second on 91 points, 4 points behind Juventus still, which is totally unheard of. You have to be a special sort of unlucky to finish second when you get 91 points. Like, seriously, that is unlucky. Napoli both scored the second highest amount of goals and conceded the second least amount of goals. Again, both behind Juventus, so naturally they weren't going to win the league. But, still, they were good. They had a very, very good season, Napoli did. Now, what all of that shows is that Sarri and Napoli did a fantastic job, basically, especially last season. But Juve and their squad are just a lot better than Napoli. Like, they simply are. And the fact that Napoli only lost out, in the league by 4 points is actually a very good achievement, I think so anyway. And people will come at me saying, but Napoli was in the lead for ages in the league and bottled it at the end. We'll come to that. Hold on, we'll come to that in a little bit. Sarri was in charge of Napoli for 148 games, winning 98 games, drawing 25 and also losing 25, which gives him a win percentage of around 66% in all competitions and a win percentage of 69% in the Serie A alone for Napoli. And that I just brought up simply because people were raging about Conte getting sacked when he had the best win percentage of any Chelsea manager, with 66% in the Premier League ever, even better than Mourinho. And of course you can say it's only the Serie A, that's why he has a better win percentage. But that's about as relevant as Conte having the best win percentage at Chelsea compared to someone like Vialli, who was here in the 90s. Like, how can you ever compare that? Like, it's useless. And also Mourinho, if you take away his last season where he basically didn't win a game until he got sacked, he has a better win percentage than Conte does. So all of these percentage things are rather irrelevant. that's why I brought it up. I know, of course, that the Serie A isn't as competitive as the Premier League, but you know, it just had to be mentioned because still, a win percentage of 69% is pretty decent. So, let's get into a little bit more detail about his tactics. And if you didn't know, Sarri basically always uses a 4-3-3 formation and plays very attractive, free-flowing, high-intensity attacking football. And his aim is to win the ball back as soon as possible when you lose it, which is achieved by pressing the opponent as much as possible without leaving crazy amounts of space anywhere else on the pitch really, but you still press and try to get the ball back as quickly as you can. A quite impressive stat is that the top 5 players with the most passes in last year's Serie A season are all from Napoli, with Jorginho topping that chart, who we are very, very likely to sign later on today, or announce later on today. He's very, very likely to join Chelsea as well. Obviously, there will be a video about it when all of that happens. And even all over Europe, multiple Napoli players made the top 10 of players with the most passes over the course of the season. But those passes aren't just sideways and backwards passes. Sarri is forward thinking. In 2016, he was famously quoted as saying, "If I saw my team defending and counter-attacking after 30 minutes, I would get up and return to the bank because I would not be having fun." Also, Pep Guardiola praised Sarri's Napoli to the fullest when the two met in the Champions League last season. Guardiola said that Napoli was one of, if not the best team he had ever played against. And that says something coming from Pep Guardiola. Now in Sarri's and Napoli's 4-3-3 system, the wingers usually stayed quite narrow to allow the fullbacks, usually one fullback attacking more than the other, but they allowed the fullback to overlap the wingers and outnumber the opponent in the final third basically. But just because Napoli and Sarri are attacking doesn't mean they can't defend. Like I said, they conceded the second least amount of goals in the league last season. But even when he was with Empoli, when he kept them in the Serie A, he conceded a second least amount of goals in the league with them as well, and he only finished 15th. But doing that while still playing attacking football, even with a poor side like Empoli. And that's because defensively, Sarri has his team working very hard and intelligently, closing up and crowding the middle, forcing the opponent to attack from wide positions, while the team moves around constantly to always be in the right position. And then going from defense to attack, it's quick, but it's no long balls. It's passing your way forward intelligently, mostly in triangles. As I will touch upon more in the video about Jorginho when he, as expected, will be announced, I will speak about Jorginho, and his role in midfield more. But in that 4-3-3, Sarri has 3 very different types of central midfielder. One attacking central midfielder, not a central attacking midfielder, but one attacking central midfielder, if that makes any sense what I mean, which was mostly Hamsik at Napoli. And then they have one destroyer, which was usually Allen at Napoli, who works hard, runs a lot, and both defends and tackles very, very well. And then the third midfielder, usually the one in the deepest position, is the so-called regista, Jorginho basically. But again, I will speak about that in a separate video basically. And also, Napoli's goals came from multiple players in positions on the pitch. Dries Mertens, obviously their striker, got 18 goals this season. Callejon got 10, Insigne got 8. And Hamsik got 7, and so on. A lot of players got a fair amount of goals, and that's obviously one thing that's really crucial about Sarri's type of football and, Napoli's success of the last few years. But one thing that I found to be very, very impressive is the fact that under Sarri, Gonzalo Higuain broke the 66-year-old goal-scoring record in the Serie A with 36 goals in Sarri's first season at Napoli. And now, Dries Mertens is playing in goals left, right and centre. And Mertens and Higuain couldn't be more different from each other, as a striker. And yet, in Sarri's system, they both scored goals, loads of goals as a striker. And that to me says, he can adapt his style even without changing it drastically. He can adapt it to any type of striker up front. And that just gives me a bit of hope for, maybe Morata will do well now. But, it's obviously wait and see. I also assume that you've all heard about the criticism about Sarri, that he doesn't rotate much and that he doesn't use the youth a lot. Well, on that, let's just get into that. Napoli's main youth team only won 8 games last season. At least that's what I read. If that stat is wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what I read. Chelsea's youth teams probably haven't lost 8 games the last 3 seasons combined, for fuck's sake. So what I'm trying to say is, Napoli don't have a great youth setup. And, they don't have many ultra-promising players coming through, which is obviously a big reason why no manager could really use them. Because, you still want to have good quality players. You don't just want to bring through anyone, Also, just disproving that fact that, he doesn't use young players. At Empoli, Sarri did use a lot of young players in crucial positions as well, including Zielinski, who he ended up bringing to Napoli with him and made him a regular there. And also Daniele Rugani, who he worked with at Empoli as well, and who is now at Juventus and obviously Chelsea are heavily linked with. So, there are young players that Maurizio Sarri does use when they are good enough, basically. I mean, of course, I cannot promise that he will use young players at Chelsea, but what I can say is the fact that he didn't use youth players at Napoli doesn't mean that he won't at Chelsea. And about rotation, well, look at Napoli's squad. They have a very good starting 11, but their bench doesn't live on the same standard, basically. And the one time we did do quite some rotation that I, knew of quite vividly was in the Europa League in the round of 32 against Leipzig. In the first leg, Napoli lost 3-1 and they were clear favourites for that game, especially because they were playing so well up until that point, basically, that season. And then they couldn't turn it around in the second leg anymore. So there's an explanation why he didn't rotate much. The bench and reserve players in Napoli aren't that good. And that is also the reason why they couldn't hold on to their lead in the league that I mentioned earlier and lost points compared to Juventus at the end. Juventus' squad is much bigger and better than Napoli's. So the longer the season goes on, if you can't rotate while keeping the same quality of players on the pitch, or at least on a similar level, players will get tired eventually. So hopefully we can provide Sarri with a good squad that he can and will actually rotate. One more thing that you might like to hear is that Sarri once described the transfer window as a refuge for the weak, as he much rather improves his players on the training pitch. Best example for which being Koulibaly, who was deemed nowhere near good enough for Napoli, let alone Sarri's style of passing football. But now he's one of the most sought after, centre-backs in Europe. And as we know, the Chelsea board, that is certainly not something they will, have a problem with hearing because, it means they don't have to spend constantly and won't have the manager moaning at them for needing players. All in all, I'm sure I didn't explain everything there is to know about Sarri, I'm sure I didn't, but I went into some detail. And of course, I could start to assume which player will play where, but let's not assume. Let's wait for the first few preseason games and let's talk about it then. But like I said, I'm very happy about getting Sarri. I'm not saying we will win the league this season. That would be a stupid thing to say. Good manager or not, especially Man City, have a far superior squad to us. But I'm confident that we will finish inside the top 4. But again, we'll obviously have to wait and see. But yeah, that's it from me. Leave me all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Basically, just all of your thoughts on Maurizio Sarri joining Chelsea as the head coach, basically. It's not manager, it's head coach. But leave me all of your thoughts about it down in the comment section below. Leave a like if you did enjoy this video. I would massively appreciate it, especially as I'm not feeling great and, you might see my face going a bit more red and whatever throughout this video. My voice being off. My throat is sore, my head's, in pain, my ears, it's all gone wrong. Basically, just leave a like, I'd massively appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my social media as well, which is last1507 on both Instagram and Twitter. As you can see over here, I'd massively appreciate that as well. And of course, the links to them are down in the description below also. And don't forget to subscribe to 100% Chelsea if you're new. And don't forget to click the notification bell button to, not miss out on any of our videos if you choose to get notifications for all uploads, basically. And all there is left to say now is thank you guys for watching, Forza Sarri, and I'll see you next time.